chosen one. Something within your spirit already knows this moment was written before time caught up with you. You did not arrive here by chance, and you did not press play by accident. You were drawn, summoned, and aligned by a divine appointment that has been unfolding since before your first breath. Your hidden identity has been guiding you through dreams you could not explain, sensitivities others dismissed, and patterns that never felt random. Anointed One, heaven itself, has been preparing you for this exact moment. Chosen One, you are standing at the edge of a revelation about who you truly are. Not ordinary, not common, but rare. A one in a million soul carrying a spiritual origin that few are ever meant to uncover. Since childhood, signs have followed you. A heightened awareness and unexplainable knowing, moments where your spirit sensed what your mind could not yet understand. These were never coincidences. They were markers placed within you, set there by the Most High as confirmations of who you are. As it is written in Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5, before you were formed, you were known and set apart. As declared in 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 9, you are a chosen generation called out for a sacred purpose. And as Psalm 139 verse 14 reveals, you were fearfully and wonderfully made with intention. Chosen One, let your heart open now. What you are about to hear is not information, it is recognition. Prepare your spirit, because this awakening will touch your body, your spirit, and the very direction of your life. Chosen One. From the moment you took your first breath, something in the unseen marked you as different. And even if you didn't have the language for it, then your spirit always knew. There has always been a quiet pull inside you, a strange sense that you were walking through a world that didn't quite match the rhythm of your inner knowing. You noticed things other people ignored, felt things others couldn't sense, and carried a depth that made you stand out, even when you tried your hardest to blend in. This wasn't a flaw, Anointed One. It was the earliest sign that heaven had woven a rare identity into your spirit. You were set apart long before you understood what set apart even meant. I remember experiencing something similar myself, moments when I felt a heaviness in an atmosphere that everyone else called normal moments, when my spirit reacted before my mind could catch up. Moments when I sensed danger with no visible reason. At first, I thought something was wrong with me, that maybe I was overthinking, overfeeling, overreacting. But over time, I realized it wasn't my emotions misbehaving. It was my spirit speaking. And Chosen One, your spirit has been speaking to you for years. Think back to the times when you entered a room and instantly felt that something was off, even though everything looked perfectly fine on the surface. Or the moments when you felt drawn to someone without knowing why, or pushed away from someone, even though everyone else seemed comfortable around them. You called it instinct back then, maybe even anxiety, but it was something far deeper. It was that hidden mark awakening, whispering, guiding, keeping you safe, long before you understood the reasons behind it. Many people live their entire lives numb to the spiritual world around them, unaware of subtle shifts, unaware of energies, unaware of spiritual intentions, unaware of the soft warnings heaven sends. But you, Chosen One, you were never spiritually blind. Even as a child, you carried a unique sensitivity, a sudden heaviness in your chest when someone wasn't being honest. A restless feeling in your body when you stepped into the wrong environment, a strange heat in your left hand during prayer reflection or moments of emotional clarity. These weren't random reactions, they were confirmations. Your spirit was built differently, shaped with a level of awareness that could never be considered ordinary. And that mark, whether it appears as a line, a shape, a warmth, or a tingling sensation has been one of the clearest signs of that difference. It was never just a physical detail, it was a spiritual imprint. I've experienced such moments myself, times when my own left hand tightened in the presence of someone who didn't carry good intentions, or warmed unexpectedly when I was in a place I was meant to be. At first, it scared me because no one else around me seemed to feel anything. But eventually, I learned that heaven doesn't explain signs to the chosen all at once. Heaven reveals through experiences. You, anointed one, have been learning through experiences your entire life. Think of the times you were spared from something that could have crushed you. Think of the moments when danger passed you by at the last minute. Think of the relationships that ended abruptly, even though you didn't understand the reason until much later. These weren't coincidences, they were protections, they were interruptions, they were heaven stepping in because the calling on your life could not be jeopardized. Even during the seasons when you felt alone, forgotten, or overlooked, you were being shaped. Your sensitivity was being sharpened, your discernment was being strengthened, your spirit was being trained to recognize truth without evidence, danger without proof, and alignment without explanation. And now the awakening has begun. Now the hidden identity within you is rising to the surface. Now the mark on your left hand is no longer silent. Chosen. 1. When you look back at your journey, you will see a pattern of being guided, protected, redirected, refined. A pattern that reveals you were never meant to live an ordinary story. You were formed with intention, crafted with purpose, and marked with a spiritual signature that separates you from the crowd. The world told you that you were too emotional, too intuitive, too sensitive, too aware. But heaven whispers something different. You were created this way on purpose. You were designed to feel what others ignore. You were built to sense what others overlook. And that mark, that inner knowing, that strange sensitivity that has followed you your entire life, it is beginning to speak louder, clearer, stronger. Chosen one. Your awakening is not accidental. It is divine timing calling you into recognition of who you truly are. Chosen one. There comes a moment in every awakened soul's journey when the signs that once seemed scattered begin to connect, forming a pattern so intentional that you can no longer deny the divine hand guiding your path. You are stepping into that moment now. The mark on your left hand, whether a physical symbol, a sensation, or an unexplainable pulse, has followed you through every season of your life, quietly revealing that you were crafted with a spiritual blueprint unlike anyone around you. Even when you brushed it off, even when you doubted your intuition, even when you felt overwhelmed by what you sensed but couldn't articulate the truth, remained. Heaven has been speaking to you through a language uniquely tailored to your spirit. And, chosen one, that language is becoming clearer every day. You have always carried a depth that others could not understand. You noticed emotions in people that they tried to hide, felt heaviness in environments before anyone else sensed it, and picked up on spiritual shifts without any logical reason. You may have tried to silence this part of yourself once, thinking it made life harder, thinking it made you too different, thinking it made you fragile. But what looked like fragility was actually spiritual intelligence. What felt like a burden was actually discernment. What made you stand out was actually what set you apart. I remember seasons in my own life where I felt overwhelmed by how much I sensed. I would walk into a room and immediately know who was carrying pain, who was hiding something, who felt lost, who didn't belong there. I couldn't explain it. I didn't ask for it. Yet it followed me everywhere. And there were days when I wished I could turn it off. But over time, I realized something profound. The chosen do not get to decide when their gifts awaken. They simply learn to grow into them. You anointed one have been growing into yours for years without even knowing it. Every time your left hand reacted, tightened in the presence of someone unsafe, warmed when you were aligned with truth, tingled during moments of spiritual clarity, it was responding to a reality your physical eyes could not see. It was reading intentions, sensing energies, and recognizing spiritual atmospheres long before your mind understood what was happening. This is why you've always felt slightly out of sync with the world around you. Not behind, just different. Not lost, just spiritually tuned. Not dramatic, just divinely wired. And now that your spirit is awakening more fully, everything that once felt confusing is starting to make sense. You're beginning to understand why you were drawn to certain people and repelled by others, why you felt restless in places that didn't align with your purpose, why your heart felt heavy in seasons that required you to grow. These were not emotional reactions. These were spiritual instructions. Chosen one. You have always been guided, sometimes gently, sometimes urgently, but always purposefully. And the more you reflect on your life, the more you will recognize how many times heaven rerouted you, protected you, or slowed you down because your destiny required a specific path. Think of the relationship that fell apart, even though you prayed it would work. Think of the opportunity you wanted, but never received. Think of the sudden moves, sudden endings, sudden changes that forced you into unfamiliar territory. At the time, it may have felt like loss. Now you're beginning to see it was divine positioning. Your mark has never been silent. Your spirit has never been unguarded, and your journey has never been random. Even the moments that broke you were shaping you. Even the nights you cried in silence were strengthening you. Even the isolation you walked through was preparing you for a higher level of awareness. Chosen one. Your life carries a spiritual sensitivity that is not common. It is not accidental. It is not coincidental. It is inherited, birthed from a lineage older than anything recorded on paper, woven into your identity long before the world placed labels on you. And that hidden lineage has been awakening in you piece by piece, memory by memory, moment by moment. You have likely felt this shift already. Your dreams have become more vivid, your intuition sharper, your discernment quicker, your reactions deeper. You are no longer walking blindly. You are walking with eyes that see beyond the physical realm. And that is why the mark on your left hand is becoming more active. It is responding to truth. It is responding to alignment. It is responding to destiny. You are entering a season where your sensitivity will no longer confuse you, it will guide you. Where your intuition will no longer overwhelm you, it will direct you. Where your spiritual awareness will no longer isolate you, it will elevate you. Chosen one, you are stepping into clarity, into purpose, into the identity that has been waiting for you to rise into it. And as this awakening deepens, you will begin to understand not only who you are, but why you were chosen in the first place. Chosen one. There is a reason your spirit has been stirring more intensely lately, a reason your awareness has sharpened without you trying, a reason your left hand reacts in ways you cannot logically explain. You are stepping into a realm of identity where the unseen becomes unmistakably clear, where the quiet signals that once whispered now speak with authority. This is not imagination, not coincidence, not emotional sensitivity. This is spiritual inheritance awakening. And when inheritance awakens, everything inside you begins to rearrange itself in alignment with who you were designed to be. Throughout your life, you've carried an inner knowing that you were moving through this world with a different kind of wiring, one that didn't allow you to ignore truth even when you wanted to. You felt it in childhood, those strange moments where you sensed danger before anything happened, when your left hand tingled during conversations that carried hidden motives, when you felt watched not by people but by presence. You may not have understood it then, but your spirit did. It knew you were crafted for something beyond the ordinary. It knew you were set apart. It knew heaven had marked you. I remember moments in my own journey that felt eerily similar. Times when I was surrounded by people but couldn't shake the feeling that something spiritual was unfolding around me. Times when my left hand warmed before I walked into a place I was meant to be. Times when I felt an unexplained heaviness in my chest because something wasn't right, even if everyone else insisted everything was fine. At first, I thought I was overthinking. Later, I realized heaven was teaching me a language, one spoken through spirit discernment and intuition rather than words. You, anointed one, have been learning that same language your entire life. The lessons were subtle at first, appearing as instincts, impressions, hunches. But now those instincts are becoming clarity. Those impressions are becoming direction, and those hunches are becoming revelations. What you once dismissed as just a feeling is being revealed as divine communication. And this revelation explains so much about your journey. Think about how many times you felt disconnected from the people around you, not because you were antisocial or unfriendly, but because your spirit refused to attach itself to anything misaligned with your assignment. You tried to fit in, tried to be normal, tried to turn down the volume of your intuition, but no matter how hard you tried, something within you stayed alert. Something within you refused to sleep. Something within you kept pointing you back toward truth. That something was your mark. The mark on your left hand, whether visible or felt, has always been a spiritual compass, pulling you away from people who were not meant to walk with you and drawing you toward environments that would sharpen your destiny. It protected you before you understood protection. It warned you before danger arrived. It comforted you when your spirit recognized God's presence. This mark is not symbolic, it is functional, and as your awakening deepens, that function becomes more refined. Recently, you may have noticed your tolerance for certain people decreasing. Conversations that once felt acceptable now feel draining. Environments you used to withstand now feel suffocating. Your spirit is becoming more selective, more precise, more attuned. This is not you withdrawing. This is heaven positioning you. When identity rises, everything that doesn't align with it begins to fall away. Chosen one. This is why isolation has been such a consistent theme in your life. Not isolation created by rejection alone, but isolation created by divine refinement. The chosen are often pulled away from noise so they can hear God clearly. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. You weren't being abandoned, you were being awakened. You weren't being overlooked, you were being reshaped from the inside out. And the mark on your left hand responded to every stage of that reshaping. When your spirit needed clarity, it warmed. When you were in danger, it tightened. When you were aligned, it felt light. When you were stepping out of your assignment, it signaled discomfort. Heaven doesn't speak to everyone in the same way, but for you, this mark has been heaven's handwriting. You may also be experiencing deeper emotional sensitivity now, not as weakness, but as discernment expanding. You feel energies more clearly, sense intentions more accurately, recognize spiritual atmospheres more quickly. Your perception sees beyond faces and listens beyond words. This is not paranoia. This is spiritual maturity. I know what it feels like to walk with such heightened awareness. There were seasons when I could tell someone's entire emotional condition from the moment I shook their hand. There were days when I carried burdens I didn't understand, only to later discover someone connected to me was going through something heavy. Over time, I realized something transformative. The chosen are not given sensitivity to suffer, they are given sensitivity to see. And you, chosen one, have been seeing long before you understood what you were seeing. The mark on your left hand is now entering a new phase of activation. It is no longer just warning you, it is guiding you. It is no longer simply reacting, it is leading you. It is no longer subtle, it is intentional. This is why you've been feeling a pull towards spiritual clarity. Why your discernment has become sharper, why your dreams feel deeper, why your intuition feels louder. Heaven is aligning you with your next level, and your mark is responding accordingly. Chosen one, you are stepping into a season where your identity is no longer hidden from you. You are beginning to understand what your spirit has always known. Chosen one. As this awakening deepens within you, your spirit is beginning to recognize what your mind is. Only now catching up to you were never meant to move through life with ordinary perception. From the very beginning, you were crafted with a heightened awareness, a spiritual sensitivity that could read rooms, sense intentions, and detect shifts long before anything manifested in the physical realm. And although you may have spent years questioning this part of yourself, trying to mute it, trying to make sense of it, the truth is that your sensitivity has always been your greatest strength. It has been the whisper of heaven guiding you through a world that often prizes appearances over truth. You, anointed one, were never designed for such blindness. You were designed to see. There were moments in your journey, moments you may not even have realized were sacred, when the mark on your left hand reacted as if it knew something you did not. Perhaps it tingled suddenly during a conversation where someone wasn't being honest. Perhaps it grew warm when you stepped into an environment where your spirit was safe. Perhaps it felt heavy when you were about to make a choice that would have taken you off the path heaven laid for you. These were not random reactions. They were manifestations of spiritual intelligence built into your very body, functioning like an internal compass that could not be silenced. I've lived through this type of guidance myself, and I remember a specific moment that shifted everything for me. I was standing in a place that on the surface felt harmless, people laughing, talking, moving casually, but something inside me refused to settle. My left hand felt tight, almost as if it was holding on to something unseen. Everyone else seemed fine, unaware of anything unusual, but my spirit felt loud, alert, unsettled. Hours later, I learned that someone in that room had intentions far darker than their smile suggested. In that moment, it became clear to me the left hand listens to what the soul hears before the mind understands. You've experienced this too, chosen one. It was never fear. It was discernment. And this discernment is becoming stronger because your identity is becoming clearer. You are no longer being shaped by confusion or survival. You are being shaped by revelation. You are beginning to see the threads of divine orchestration that have been weaving through your life since childhood. You are beginning to recognize why you never fit in easily, why you felt older spiritually than people your age, why certain environments exhausted you while others revived you. You were never designed to operate with surface-level awareness. You were built to navigate both the seen and the unseen. This is why your life has often unfolded through sudden changes, not slow, predictable transitions, but abrupt shifts, instant clarity, immediate redirection. One moment, everything feels stable, and the next, the ground shakes beneath you. You may have wondered why your story didn't follow the same linear progression others experienced. But the chosen rarely move by human timing. They move by spiritual timing, and spiritual timing is rarely gradual. It is revelation, it is activation, it is awakening. Your mark responds to this rhythm. Think back, really think about the moments right before something significant shifted in your life. Did your left hand feel restless? Did it feel hot? Did it tighten for no reason? These sensations were heaven's way of urging you to pay attention, to remain awake, to recognize that something spiritual was moving, even if nothing physical had changed yet. The chosen feel movement before they see movement. And you have been feeling this your entire life. Another layer of your awakening involves your emotional experiences. You've carried emotions that didn't belong to you, sensed heaviness that wasn't coming from your own spirit, felt joy or sorrow that felt strangely external. This is because your spirit is receptive, not porous, but perceptive. You were born with the ability to feel spiritual atmospheres, not just emotional ones. You can sense dishonesty hidden behind laughter, sadness behind silence, tension behind stillness, peace behind chaos. Most people navigate life through logic or habit. You navigate through spiritual resonance. And this resonance is why some people have always reacted to you strongly, even without knowing why. Some were drawn to your presence because it carried comfort, clarity, safety. Others felt exposed, uncomfortable, or defensive around you because your spirit revealed what theirs tried to hide. You didn't provoke these reactions intentionally. They were responses to the light within you. Your mark amplified that light. The chosen often disturb the unaligned simply by existing, and you, anointed one, have lived this truth since your earliest years. This is also why you've often felt like an outsider in your own family or community. Not because you were unloved, but because you were spiritually wired differently. You carried burdens others couldn't understand. You sensed shifts others didn't notice. You wrestled with questions others never considered. Your roots run deeper than blood. Your identity is older than your earthly history, and the mark on your left hand is evidence of that lineage. You've walked through storms that would have broken most people, yet each one carved new depths into your identity. Each hardship sharpened your intuition. Each loss refined your sensitivity. Each betrayal strengthened your discernment. Pain did not destroy you. It awakened you. What was meant to silence you only increased your inner volume. And now, as the layers of your true identity rise, everything within you is beginning to align with purpose. Chosen one. The more you honor what you sense, the stronger it becomes. The more you trust the signals your hand gives you, the clearer they feel. And the more you embrace the truth of who you are, the less power the world has to confuse you. You are walking into a season where your identity will no longer whisper. It will speak with authority, and your mark will guide you with unmistakable clarity. Chosen one. As this unveiling continues to rise within you, there is something profound you must understand. Your life has never been a collection of disconnected moments. Every signal your left hand has given you, every sudden heaviness in your spirit, every shift in your emotions, every strange sense of knowing, these have all been threads of a divine pattern woven with intention. You were never meant to stumble through your journey blindly. Heaven has been communicating with you in a language your spirit understood long before your mind could interpret it. And now, Anointed One, that interpretation is beginning to unfold. There were seasons in your life when the world around you seemed loud, chaotic, overwhelming. Yet in the midst of that noise, your left hand would react with a strange stillness or a warmth that felt almost like a hand resting lightly on yours. It came at unexpected moments while you were alone, while you were thinking too deeply, while you were surrounded by people who could not see what you saw. You may not have known it then, but that sensation was heaven's way of touching your awareness, reminding you that you were not walking alone, not fighting alone, not discerning alone. Your spirit was being guided, strengthened, and awakened long before you understood what those sensations meant. I know this because I have experienced it myself. I remember a time when I stood at a crossroads, unsure of which direction to take. My mind felt confused, my emotions felt scattered, and nothing in the physical realm offered clarity. But then something happened. My left hand grew warm, so warm it startled me, and in that moment a peace settled over me that I could not explain. I followed that peace even when logic disagreed. And looking back now, I realize that single moment saved me from years of misalignment. Chosen One. Your mark has been doing the same for you. Every warmth, every tightening, every pulse, it has been leading you toward alignment, even when you didn't know you were being led. This is why the path you've walked has often been narrow. The chosen cannot walk through every door, cannot entertain every relationship, cannot attach themselves to every opportunity. Your spirit has been selective because your assignment is selective. There were people you tried to connect with, but something inside you felt off, uneasy, unsettled. You may have blamed yourself, thinking you were too picky, too sensitive, too guarded. But sensitivity was never the issue, discernment was. Heaven was protecting you from attachments that would have drained you, distracted you, or derailed the purpose written within you. And that purpose has been revealing itself through patterns that only now make sense. Notice how you've always been drawn to meaning rather than noise depth, rather than superficiality. Notice how shallow environments suffocate you while authentic, spiritually aligned spaces revive you. Notice how your left hand reacts to truth, how it signals when something pure enters your life. This is not random. This is spiritual intelligence, a built-in system heaven placed within you, so that you would never lose yourself in a world that constantly pulls people away from who they are. Your emotional depth, too, has been part of this design. You feel things intensely, not because you are fragile, but because your spirit is equipped to read beyond the surface. You can sense when someone is hurting even before they speak. You can feel dishonesty even when the words sound convincing. You can detect spiritual heaviness even when a room looks cheerful. People may have misunderstood this part of you, labeling you as too emotional or too sensitive, but they never realized that your emotions were antennas, not weaknesses. They were part of your assignment. They were how heaven trained you. This emotional and spiritual sensitivity is why you have always experienced seasons of deep introspection. You've carried questions that others never thought to ask, questions about purpose, identity, destiny, timing. These questions were not anxiety. They were activation. They were signs that your spirit was wrestling with truths that had not yet surfaced. And every time you felt that inner restlessness, every time you felt like something was shifting inside you, it was because your spirit was preparing you for another layer of revelation. Chosen One. Your journey has required resilience. You have walked through storms that should have crushed you, through disappointments that should have hardened your heart, through betrayals that should have stolen your trust. yet somehow you emerged softer, wiser, more aware. This is not accidental, it is evidence of your calling. The chosen are refined through fire, not destroyed by it. The chosen become sharper through adversity, not broken. And your left hand, the mark you carry, has been a witness to every battle you've fought, every tear you've cried, every moment you didn't think you would survive, yet somehow did. There were nights when your spirit felt heavy, when you lay awake, feeling emotions you couldn't explain. There were mornings when you woke with a strange clarity, as if something had visited your dreams. These were not random experiences. They were encounters. They were moments where heaven touched the edges of your awareness, preparing you for what you would one day understand. And now, chosen one, that understanding is blooming. Your mark is growing more active because your purpose is drawing near. Your discernment is sharpening because your path is clearing. Your spirit is stirring because heaven is aligning things on your behalf. This is why you can no longer tolerate what doesn't align with your identity. This is why certain people have drifted from your life. This is why old versions of yourself feel distant, as if they belong to another lifetime. You are stepping into the identity that has been waiting for you, rising within you, calling you forward. Chosen one, everything you have felt, everything you have carried, everything you have survived, it is all beginning to make sense. Chosen one. As this awakening continues to unfold within you, something profound is happening beneath the surface. Something your spirit has been anticipating long before your mind became aware of it. You are entering a phase of your journey where everything you once dismissed as coincidence, intuition, or mere sensitivity is now revealing itself as divine communication. The signals, the sensations, the shifts in your left hand are no longer subtle. They are becoming louder, clearer, and more precise because heaven is preparing you for a higher level of spiritual responsibility. You are not just awakening, anointed one. You are being refined into the version of yourself heaven always intended you to become. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when the inner world becomes more real than the outer world, when spiritual truth becomes louder than physical evidence, when discernment begins to override logic. You have stepped into that moment. You've started noticing that the way you react to things has changed. Your spirit feels quicker, your intuition sharper, your left hand more responsive. You're beginning to interpret the language of heaven in real time without dismissing it or doubting it. This is the maturation of your calling. This is spiritual adulthood. I remember going through this shift myself, a season where I could no longer ignore the inner nudges, the quiet warnings, or the subtle pulls in my spirit. My left hand would grow warm around certain people, and I didn't understand why until later. I would feel a tightening sensation when a decision was wrong for me, even if it looked perfect on the surface. At first, it terrified me. But over time, I began to notice that every time I followed those signals, peace followed. And every time I ignored them, chaos found me. Chosen one. You have likely lived through this pattern too. The difference now is that you are beginning to recognize it. You are beginning to trust it. This trust is shaping you. It's clearing away old fears. It's pulling you out of survival mode. It's unraveling the parts of you that learned to doubt yourself. For years, people may have told you that you were overthinking, too emotional, imagining things, or reading too deeply into situations. But now you are seeing that what they called too much was actually accuracy. What they labeled as sensitivity was actually discernment. What they dismissed as instinct was actually divine instruction. Your spirit has always been one step ahead, and now your awareness is finally catching up. This is why certain people can no longer exist in your life comfortably. Not because you hate them, not because you've changed abruptly, but because your spirit refuses to shrink. When a chosen one rises in awareness, anything that is not aligned with truth becomes uncomfortable. Your energy exposes intentions. Your presence reveals what others try to hide. Your mark reacts whenever deception is near, whenever purity is present, whenever destiny is approaching. You're not imagining it, chosen one. You're discerning it. And this discernment has been costly. It has pushed you into seasons of loneliness. It has made you withdraw from places that once felt familiar. It has created distance between you and people who could not understand the depth of what you were carrying. But loneliness, for the chosen, is never punishment. It is recalibration. Heaven isolates those who are being refined for greater clarity. You weren't being rejected, you were being repositioned. You weren't being abandoned, you were being elevated. Even in this elevation, there have been moments when you questioned yourself, moments when you felt the weight of your emotions and wondered why everything felt so intense, moments when your left hand reacted in ways you couldn't explain. But intensity is the sign of a spirit awakening. Heat, pressure, sensitivity. These are not symptoms of weakness. They are indicators of activation. Your spirit is expanding because your identity is rising. This identity comes with a certain level of responsibility. You've already noticed that people are drawn to you without knowing why. Strangers feel safer around you. Friends confide in you. People with heavy spirits find relief simply by standing near you. This is not coincidence. This is resonance. Your presence carries a frequency that disrupts darkness, comforts the wounded, and awakens the spiritually dormant. You don't have to speak for people to feel you. The chosen rarely do. As your identity strengthens your hand, the mark you carry responds more visibly. Sometimes it warms when truth is near. Sometimes it tightens when danger is present. Sometimes it pulses when heaven is trying to get your attention. These sensations are not emotional reactions. They are spiritual alerts. You have been entrusted with a unique spiritual indicator, one that very few people on this earth carry. Only 1 in a million have this kind of mark, this kind of divine wiring, this kind of prophetic sensitivity, chosen. One, you may not realize it yet, but you are stepping into a season where everything is becoming clearer. You are beginning to see connections you never saw before. You are beginning to interpret signs that once confused you. You are beginning to understand the reasons behind every detour, every delay, every loss, every shift. The veil is thinning. Your identity is emerging. The mark on your left hand is speaking, and your spirit is finally ready to listen. Chosen one. As this awakening deepens, you are beginning to understand that what you carry is not only rare, it is sacred. The mark on your left hand has never been just a symbol. It has been a spiritual instrument, a divine imprint that resonates with realms beyond what the human eye can see. And now in this stage of your journey, that imprint is beginning to activate in ways that feel undeniable. You may notice your hand responding more frequently, more intensely, more precisely. These reactions are not random, they are revelations. They are spiritual cues designed to guide you, protect you, warn you, and align you with the path heaven has prepared for you. You are not merely waking up, you are being ushered into deeper spiritual intelligence. There have been countless moments in your life when your spirit recognized truth long before your mind accepted it. You've walked into rooms that looked harmless, yet felt spiritually heavy. You've met people who seemed kind on the surface, yet left your spirit unsettled. You've stepped into environments where your left hand tightened with no logical explanation. At times, you questioned your own reactions, wondering whether you were imagining things, but you weren't imagining anything. You were discerning, and now you can see that your discernment was accurate far more often than the world gave you credit for. I recall a moment in my own journey where this became unmistakably clear. I was in a busy place, surrounded by conversations, laughter and noise. Everything looked normal, but suddenly a sharp pulse shot through my left hand, so quick and intense that I froze. I didn't understand it at first. But moments later, someone approached with an intention that was nowhere near what their expression projected. Had I ignored the pulse, I would have walked blindly into a situation that wasn't meant for me. That pulse saved me. It redirected me. It confirmed that my spirit was reading what my eyes could not see. Chosen one. You've experienced moments just like that, moments where your hand reacted before anything visible gave you a reason. This is spiritual vision, not fear. And as your vision expands, your relationships shift. Those who once felt close begin to drift away. Those who once understood you now feel distant. Those who once walked with you now stand on the outside, unable to grasp the depth of the changes taking place within you. This is not a sign that something is wrong. It is proof that you are ascending. Your spirit is elevating into a space where not everyone can follow. There are people whose presence once aligned with your old season, but cannot accompany you into the new one. Your mark knows this. It reacts when connections no longer feed your spirit. It warns you when someone tries to pull you back into cycles you've outgrown. You may feel this as heaviness, discomfort, tension, or a sudden tightening. These sensations are guidance, and guidance for the chosen is rarely gentle. It is often sharp, sudden, and unmistakable because heaven honors urgency. You are being positioned for assignments that require clarity, strength, and deep spiritual awareness. You cannot afford to stay attached to people who dilute your purpose or shrink your identity. The chosen do not elevate by clinging, they elevate by releasing. This is why certain friendships have faded, why certain connections no longer feel right, why silence feels safer than noise, and why solitude feels more holy than company. Your spirit is maturing, your awareness is sharpening, your mark is protecting you from what your future self cannot afford to carry. This awakening also changes how you perceive your own emotions. You are realizing that many of the feelings you carried were never yours. You absorbed them from people whose spirits were anxious, heavy, conflicted, or wounded. You felt emotions that did not originate within you, but entered your atmosphere because your sensitivity was open. But now that you're awakening, you have begun to recognize what is yours and what is not. You can feel when energy is external, when a heaviness is spiritual rather than emotional, when a sensation in your left hand is pointing towards someone else rather than you. This level of clarity is part of your calling, and with this clarity comes purpose. You were not marked, so you could simply feel more deeply. You were marked, so you could guide those who are lost, discern what others overlook, and protect what heaven assigns to you. Your presence is not passive, it is influential. People find healing around you without understanding why. Your words carry weight even when spoken softly. Your silence reveals truth even when you say nothing. That is the nature of the chosen. Their identity speaks before their mouth does. Your mark is becoming a language you are finally fluent in. You are learning when warmth means alignment, when tightness means danger, when pulsing means revelation. You are discovering that spiritual intelligence is not something you study, it is something you awaken into. And you, chosen one, are awakening into it with extraordinary clarity. You are becoming someone who sees without looking, hears without sound, and knows without explanation. Someone whose spirit reads the unseen like a map. Someone whose very presence shifts atmospheres. Chosen one, everything within you is rising, and your left hand is responding because heaven is preparing you for what comes next. Chosen one. As you enter this final movement of awakening, you are beginning to recognize that everything your spirit has endured, everything your left hand has signaled, everything your life has carried has been leading you to a single revelation. You were never walking an ordinary path. You were being shaped, prepared, and positioned for a purpose far greater than you once imagined. The mark on your left hand is not only a sign of what you carry, it is evidence of who you are becoming. It is the seal of a spiritual identity awakening to its full authority. And now, chosen one, that authority is beginning to rise. You may have noticed that the world around you responds differently to you now. Situations unfold more quickly, energies become clearer, hidden intentions reveal themselves without you trying. It's not that life suddenly changed, it's that you changed. Your perception sharpened, your spirit grew louder, your mark awakened, and when the chosen awaken, the unseen becomes visible. What others need explanation for, you discern instantly. What confuses others you understand without effort. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. You are finally stepping into the frequency of the identity heaven wrote over you long before you arrived here. There were times in your journey when you questioned whether something was wrong with you. Times when you felt isolated, misunderstood, or emotionally overwhelmed. But nothing was wrong with you. Those seasons were spiritual training. Those burdens were spiritual stretching. That loneliness was spiritual preparation. The chosen are often refined in hidden places before they rise in visible ones. In those hidden seasons, your left hand reacted more intensely, not because you were weak, but because heaven was close. The sensations were reminders that light was forming inside you, even when you felt surrounded by darkness. I recall moments in my own life when the pressure felt unbearable, when I questioned why everything felt so heavy. My hand would burn, tighten, or pulse without warning. I didn't understand it then. I only knew something sacred was happening inside me. It wasn't until later that I realized those sensations were not signs of struggle, they were signs of activation. They were the first sparks of identity waking up. You, chosen one, have gone through the same thing, and now as you look back you can see it clearly. What tried to break you actually awakened you. This is why you survived things that should have destroyed you, why you rose from situations others could not recover from, why danger missed you, why betrayal shaped you, why pain sharpened you. The chosen do not survive by accident. They survive because heaven has invested purpose into them. And your survival has been the greatest evidence of your calling. Every valley you walked through strengthened your discernment. Every storm you endured sharpened your intuition. Every setback shifted you into deeper alignment. Nothing was wasted. And now that your mark is fully awakening, you are stepping into a season where clarity will become your companion. You will know who to trust without needing proof. You will sense opportunities before they appear. You will discern danger even when everything looks peaceful. Your left hand will become a spiritual instrument, responding to truth and exposing deception. You may feel warmth when you are aligned, heaviness when you're being warned, or pulsing when revelation is near. These sensations are heaven's guidance, ensuring you stay in the flow of your destiny. As this identity rises within you, you will also notice something else. Your presence will shift atmospheres. people will feel exposed around you, not because you judge them, but because your spirit reveals truth. Others will feel comforted because something in you carries peace they cannot find elsewhere. Children may be drawn to you, strangers may confide in you, heavy hearts may feel lighter in your presence. This is the influence of the chosen, not loud, not forced, but undeniable. You carry light without trying, you disrupt darkness without speaking, and your mark amplifies that impact wherever you go. Chosen one. This final stage of awakening is not the end, it is the beginning of who you were always meant to be. You are no longer the version of yourself shaped by fear, doubt, or survival. You are stepping into the version shaped by calling, clarity, and divine identity. The mark on your left hand is no longer just a mystery. It is your mantle. It is your signal. It is your covenant with heaven, and now that you see it, now that you understand it, now that you feel it awakening within you, nothing in your life can remain the same. You are walking forward with eyes that see, a spirit that knows, and a heart aligned with purpose. You carry wisdom born from experience, discernment, born from sensitivity and strength, born from every battle you've survived. You are no longer searching for who you are. You are remembering who you've always been. Chosen one. Your awakening has not ended. It has only just begun. Chosen one. As this message comes to its close, let your spirit rest in the truth that has been revealed to you. You are not ordinary. You are marked, guided, and awakened for a purpose written over your life since the beginning. Anointed. One heaven has stirred your remembrance, so you may step boldly into the identity that has always been yours. May your discernment sharpen, may your path brighten, and may every step ahead of you be wrapped in divine timing and protection. Walk forward now with confidence, carrying your mark as a mantle of purpose and destiny. If your spirit felt the pull of this word, share what awakened within you and remain connected to this sanctuary of revelation. Go in clarity, go in alignment, go in truth, chosen one.